Most of us spend our lives just pushing through and grinding until something finally makes us stop. We think of the stillness as a failure, but you've seen firsthand it actually is where the real clarity and the new direction starts. I want to talk about that today with our guest, Dr. Holly Porter, especially for those people who feel their world has been in a hold and they're trying to figure out what comes next. Welcome back to the Champion Mindset Collective podcast. I'm your host, Anthony Dahya. Today I'm joined by Dr. Holly Porter, a transformational leader, keynote speaker, author, founder of the International Retreat Association. After suffering a life-threatening 70-day hospitalization during COVID, Holly discovered that sometimes life forces us to stop so we can finally hear what truly matters. Today we're exploring how stillness, surrender, and faith can lead to a greater clarity, purpose, and transformation. Holly, welcome to the Champion Mindset Collective.
Hi, thanks for having me, Anthony. Happy to be here.
You're absolutely welcome. Holly, before you take us back to your childhood, tell us how you got here from childhood to now. Yeah.
Whoa, that's a lot of years to cover. We'll do the Reader's Digest version.
Yeah, the short.
Well, I was raised in Las Vegas, Nevada, and I never ended up living too far from there. I'm about 2.5 hours up the road right now. I moved at 14 years old to a very small town called New Harmony, Utah, which is in southern Utah. Population 198, and my family of 11 was 5% of it. So big change. Went to high school on a bus until I got smart and took early classes so I could get rides in and didn't have to ride a bus. And my parents were both entrepreneurs. My dad was a mason, which is bricklaying and block laying. My mom was a very, very good homemaker, but she also catered weddings and events. So that's how I got into that. A very talented woman. And I just knew entrepreneurship from the beginning. And I knew that I didn't necessarily want to work for anyone else. When I worked for my dad at 12 years old in Las Vegas at his office, doing all the filing and scrubbing toilets and vacuuming and all the, crappy stuff for $2.50 an hour, I remember looking up on the hallway and you had to put how much minimum wage was on the wall. And it was $3.33. And I thought I was getting ripped off. So Dad said, at 12 years old, you're lucky you have a job. Suck it up, buttercup, and you work for what I'm paying you or you don't work at all. So of course, that's what I did. So anyway, I graduated from Cedar City, Utah, and stuck around there, moved back to Vegas a couple times, moved to St. George, Utah for about 10 years. And I've had 12 startup companies. And not because, I do get bored easy, but I usually had 3 or 4 at a time. So several I've had for 20 plus years. And I love the world of entrepreneurship. So that's kind of me. Fast forward to just during COVID time, the fall of 2021, I had a life stop, as all of us did during COVID of some sort. And I landed myself in the hospital with COVID for 70 days and had 2 intubations, a trachea, sepsis, other life-threatening infections, and had lots of really cool out-of-body spiritual NDE, which is near-death experience. And that kind of brought us up to today and everything that changed and shifted for me. So
yeah, wow, what a journey. Yeah, you've been on an entrepreneurship journey from the start. For me, it's like maybe a couple of years now, and I'm
congrats.
enjoying it.
Welcome to the real world.
Yeah, well, after 30 years or so in corporate world, I think I had enough, and I was like, it's time to do something different.
Oh,
So,
yeah.
yeah. I'd
Well,
love
it has
to.
its challenges too.
Oh, yeah.
Entrepreneurship isn't, fancy roads or anything. There's some
No,
hard pavement there, but
yeah, it's a lot of uncertainty, but there's a lot of excitement as well, and it is what you make of it. Right?
every day,
Yeah,
every bit of life is like that.
yeah,
Yes.
exactly. I'd love to go back to that 70-day journey in hospital. What was the moment you realized that being forced to stop was actually the start of something new?
Yeah. Well, it's funny because I'm in the retreat industry world and it was like my own little personal retreat. Not that I was enjoying it or anything, but gosh, when you're laying there facing literally death, realizing, wow, did I do enough? Did I serve enough people? Am I leaving a legacy? Did I leave a legacy? There's all these questions going through your head. For me, I was never afraid of death or dying. I'm definitely not now, but I wasn't then. I always just figured when it's your time and live every day the best you can. And that's really all you can do. We have knowledge that we know and there's knowledge that we don't know. And we do the best we can every day with the knowledge that we do know. And so there was really if it was my time, I don't know if I'd say I have regrets because like I said, I did what I needed to do with what I knew. We raised 8 adult children. They're all alive
Mm,
and well. We have 19 grandkids. I felt like, okay, there's my prosperity. We help populate the world. So yeah, it does shift a lot of your thinking though. Yeah,
mm,
for sure.
mm. Yeah, and just on that note, what was going through your mind when you realized you couldn't just push through this one?
Wow. Yeah, because when I lost my breath, I mean, that is what I lost was breathing. And it's a scary thing because I'd never suffered from anxiety before.
Mm,
So the stress and the anxiety going through my body and my mind was new territory. And it was like, wow, am I gonna get through this? You know? And they had me in a coma probably about 30 of those days. And I was actually grateful because I lost all 5 senses several times. So they tie
mm,
your hands to the bed so you can't pull your ventilator out. Taste and smell were gone because of COVID. I'm past legally blind, so I couldn't see who anyone was unless they were about 8 inches in front of my face. And then they all were wearing yellow hats, yellow masks, yellow gowns. And most of them had some kind of eye protection on if they didn't wear glasses. So everybody looked the same. The ventilator took like 90% of my hearing away. So I jokingly say everyone sounded like the Charlie Brown, if you're old enough to remember Charlie Brown, the school teacher.
mm,
That's what everybody sounded like. So for them to put me in a coma was great. It was like, yeah, just wake me up when it's over.
mm.
You know, whatever side I end up on, let's just be gone for this because it was
Yeah.
miserable and scary. Like there was a lot of fear of the unknown, not necessarily fear of dying, but just that fear of I can't breathe. Like it's a
Mm,
scary feeling to not be able to breathe.
yeah. Yeah. In the moment, you've probably got all sorts of emotions going on
Oh,
in your
yeah,
body, right? And your mind's going crazy as well.
for
So
sure.
yeah,
Well, and you're
I
sick. I mean, you're really, really sick, so you're not thinking clearly. COVID was a brain disease, so there's all the brain fog, and the healing journey after was long. I mean, it was a year and a
mm,
half before I really even I still have long COVID now, almost 5 years later, and
mm,
get relapses, and it created a lot of health issues that I didn't have before. But yeah, it's like when your body's going through that, you think of the stress. I lost 85% of my hair. I was
wow.
a hairdresser. For 40 years, I've been a hairdresser.
Mm,
And it was like, that was traumatic to like literally have your hair falling out because of all the stress to your body and just so
mm,
much new territory. So for you, entrepreneurship is your new territory. And that's something you didn't know because you knew the corporate world. And it was like, I knew the healthy me. I didn't know how to deal with a sick me and all these other things that were coming at me. We all get our own challenges. And that was definitely mine. Yeah.
yeah. Yeah, it's definitely an eye opener, and it expands yourself being an entrepreneur. Yeah, I could just imagine what you're going through. You had no control of what was going on, right?
Oh, zero.
And in
Yeah.
that zero lack of control,
I mean, I couldn't even wipe my own butt. I
no,
mean, seriously, it was like the talk about humbling. I mean, yeah, I could do nothing. I could barely lift my hands. Yeah, the communication was challenging because they brought me like an alphabet board or paper, had the alphabet, and I had to point. So, they had to hold it up high enough, untie my hand enough so I could even point. I couldn't even, I mean, it was like when I could finally lift my cell phone, it was like a miracle. And then when I could lift my iPad, it was a miracle. Like that's how weak I was. And yeah,
mm.
talk about surrender. I mean, that is like total surrender.
And in that lack of control, how did that change the way you see yourself?
Well, to know that honestly, nobody does it alone. No matter who we are, no matter what success anybody ever gets to, if they tell you they did it by themselves, they're lying because we all need support. We all need help. When you're in that kind of a predicament, you realize it even more, obviously, because
Mm,
you can't do anything for yourself. But sometimes we just have to get to that surrender piece of our mind where it's like, okay,
mm,
who can help me and how can
mm,
they help me?
yeah,
And how can I deal with that? And
yeah.
it's yeah, step process.
Wow. Now you talk about a surrender, and in your shift framework,
Yeah.
how did you learn to see surrender as a strength rather than a sign of giving up?
Yeah, because when you're an entrepreneur, you're used to kind of doing things on your own. Maybe you're a little controlling. I didn't ever feel like I really was. I was always open to new ideas, still am. But when you just have to say, okay, I'm not in control right now. Like there's literally nothing I can do laying here in this bed for myself. Nothing. I could blink. I guess I could blink. That's about
Mm,
really all I was able to do on my own.
mm,
And it's just that letting go and just letting that control and feeling like, hey, it's going to be okay. The surrender for me was like, no matter what happens, it's going to be okay. It's going to be the right thing for me. I mean, I'm a woman of faith. So it was that belief that I never lost hope. I never lost my faith. Well, until later. Like I would say the 2 years later, I went through 2 years of what I call it my two
mm.
years of hell. And that happened after. But in the moment, it's just that what's next? And my focus was better's better is what I would say every day, even when I got out of the hospital. It was like, what can I do today to be better than I was yesterday? And I would say, why can't we all say that now? Why can't I say that every day now? Like, let's make today better than it was yesterday. What can I do to move my business forward, my needle forward, my life forward, my hope, my joy, whatever, fill it in for whatever that is for you or your listeners. Giving that is better's better. It
Mm.
changes the mindset around it, I think. For me, it did.
Yeah, yeah, 100%. I have the same mindset that I can be a bit better than I was yesterday. And what can I do differently to move the needle forward? Not only in my life, but also in my business and
Yeah.
how I impact the rest of the world. Yeah,
Yeah. Well, and
yeah.
then we know there's going to be setbacks. There's days, I mean, my health has been like this, I was perfectly healthy walking in, walked in on no drugs, walked out on 12. I got off them pretty quickly. But the point is, it was like, wow, talk about like acceptance. No, I'm not going to accept this. Okay. My life does look different, but when there's a setback, better's better maybe it didn't work, Okay, I'm worse today than I was yesterday, but what can I do today to feel better maybe tomorrow or in an hour? Maybe I need a nap and I need to step back and just say, hey, stop everything right now so I can enjoy the rest of the day. Because when you get those setbacks, sometimes I'll be fine. I'll be talking to you, and in 30 minutes, I'm done. Like I can't even function the rest of the day. And that
Mm,
happens still sometimes with the long
yeah,
COVID. And so
yeah.
it's just like giving yourself the grace to know not everything's going to be perfect and you need to adjust to where you are at that time in that moment and give yourself that grace.
It requires being in the present moment.
Yes, I'm going to admit it. I've never been good with that. I'm way better now because presence is part of my book and really sitting still and listening. And mostly for me, it was listening to your body, even more than my mind. Because I had done years and years of personal development, which by the way, saved my life in the hospital. If I wouldn't have had the personal development, I would not have survived what I went.
Mm,
No, I know that for a fact. And that's okay. I'm grateful for that. But body wise, it's like, my body's always like cooperated and now it's not. How am I going to handle that? What am I going to do differently? And it's just, yeah, sitting still and listening, saying, okay. And I still have to think about it because
yeah.
it's not like a muscle that I've trained. To me, it's like a thought that I always have to go, okay, are you being present? Are you in the moment right now? Like, what is your body feeling? What does your body need? Like, I've never been that type of person. Me, it's just Band-Aid after Band-Aid after Band-Aid and rip that Band-Aid off. And, it's a different way of thinking for sure.
Yeah, 100%. And your body does keep a score of everything that's happened.
Yeah.
And until you come to the present moment and until you start surrendering and releasing and letting go of those things, your body's going to hold on to that. And, like for me, like there's times when I don't even feel stressed, but there is things in my body that are subconsciously I'm holding on to.
Yeah.
And so
Yeah.
now you said you did like a whole lot of personal development and that would have helped you basically handle pressure better. And then you went through this scenario. How has it changed and what did you learn from handling pressure now?
I think like I was always pretty good at holding in stress, especially like because again, I would put the Band-Aid on and we just cover it up
Mm,
and we just move on and pretend it's not happening or I'm a woman, I feel like if I would have shown all the emotion, everybody would see what a wreck I was. And so it was always like, no, be strong, be tough. You can do it. I am strong. I am tough and I can do it. Like it's the difference of now saying I don't have to pretend. There's days I can let go and I can fall apart. I
mhm.
can cry. I wasn't a crier, but that 2 years of hell I went through that I call it, I cried every day. I prayed every day, like that I would have died. I was just like, why did I live to go through this? This isn't living.
Mm.
This is not living. And I have a purpose, but why is my body not like helping me achieve my purpose? Like, why am I having all these setbacks? And I mean, my whole life just, it fell apart for 2 years. When you think you come out of this near death experience and you have all these things that you know you're supposed to do and achieve because this is the end result over here.
Mm.
And like, okay. And my body's not coming with me. It's like it's affecting my mind. I mean, everything physically, emotionally, spiritually, everything was just rock bottom. And it was, it took almost 2 years to come out of that. And so I think it's just
Mm.
like, I wish now what I would be asking myself if I was going through something like that again, and maybe this would help somebody else listening. What do I need to do to get through this faster? Like I look back now and I know all of these life lessons I was getting. I know that's what they are now. At the time I
Mm.
didn't. When you're in it, you're just like in it. You're like, why? And kind of in the victim mode. And I'm not a
Mm.
victim. I'm a victor. And it was like, that's what I would be saying now is like, okay, this is a lesson. What is it I need to learn from this? And how can I move through this faster? And so like for future reference, I know that if I'm going to have a hard day or I'm having a rough week or I'm having some challenges with a person or business or whatever it is, that's what I think is like, okay, how can we resolve this? How can we move through this? And how can we get through this faster? And maybe faster isn't always the answer. I mean, for me, that was a long 2 years, but the lessons I learned are for the philanthropy work I'm doing in the future. And I needed to
Mm.
see and feel and be in that it so that I could change so many other lives later. And now
Yeah.
I know that. At the time I didn't. So
Yeah. 100%.
yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, every setback we go through is actually setting us up for something bigger,
Yeah.
for, as I say, a greater comeback. But it's also, you know, we're meant to go through this because if we don't go through it, how can we help others? And
Yeah.
I remember talking to a guest a few episodes ago where she ended up with cancer, and she said she did started off with the whole victim mentality of why me, but
Yeah.
then she turned it around and said, well, why not me, right?
Yeah.
Because she's going through someone so she can then help others go
Yeah.
through who are going through it as well.
Yeah.
Tell us a little bit about those near-death experiences that you went through.
Sure. So there's to understand, I didn't know until the 2 years when I was coming out of this nonsense, I ended up doing a hypnosis session and I'm certified for hypnosis. So I'm very aware of what it does and what it can do. And so what I learned, I went to a conference called IANS, International Association for Near-Death Studies. They've been around. They just celebrated their 50th anniversary. I actually was a speaker at it last year. And I learned that there are different names for these experiences. I had only ever heard of near-death experience. I hadn't really ever, I think I had heard one story of somebody that they gave. So like I wasn't aware. And I'm really grateful that I didn't go down the rabbit hole of listening to a bunch of them because I think it would have tainted the experience I had because there are a lot of similarities to other people's stories. And so I wasn't motivated to do that. Like now I can listen to them and it's fine. And I had my experience and I know what that is. But I was in a lot of that COVID fog. So there are three things that were pretty clear. There's out of body experiences, and then there's spiritual transformative experience, and then there's a near death experience. So I had all of them. And I had a
Mm.
whole bunch of out of body experiences. I thought my spiritual transformative experience was actually another near death, which some people say, yeah, we still call that a near death. Whatever. It's a label, right? But it does help explain. And I can tell you, each one of those experiences were very clear to me what they were once I could identify what they were. I was like, that's what that was. That's what this was. And the near death was that. And I could also tell you when I would have a vivid dream, that was different. When I would have a nightmare, that was different. And I was having all those too. Like I was crazy in my mind. Like I said, my body might have been laying there doing nothing, but my mind went everywhere. I traveled in my bed. So that is kind of a funny thing that I've never heard anyone else say is I think my brain was working enough to know that when I'd be out of my body and I'd be seeing myself in my room, in my bed, before I'd go on these out of body experiences, I knew that if I leave this room, my body's in the bed, I may not get it back. So I took my bed everywhere. My bed and
Mm.
me went on all these journeys. I wouldn't stay in it. I would like use it like a magic carpet, it would get me to where I needed to go. And then I'd be out of it having my experience. So the near death experience was that I was leaving the hospital room. I remember going down the corridors. I remember seeing all these other beds with people in it going with me, which I now believe were people dying in the hospital because
Mm.
half were. 2 floors were full of people. I had the Delta version. It was fall of 21. So it was, I think, still the worst strain there was. So a lot of people dying. And I remember shaking my finger at the nurses station as they were wheeling me by. And I was saying to them, I rescind my DNR. I rescind my DNR, which is do not resuscitate. I don't even know if I had one, honestly. I remember I had to sign some papers before they would intubate me. But anyway, I it was like must have known I was going somewhere that I really wasn't wanting to go to die. Right. And so after that, I ended up in this stadium of light, is what I call it. And it was like a football field, maybe stadium type thing, but there was hundreds and thousands of people there. So way bigger than
Mm.
anything would hold here. And the light and the joy and the peace and the music. And I mean, there was all these experiences I had there, saw people, nobody was sitting. So hundreds of thousands of people and nobody sitting because I could see feet and I could have conversations. I could have questions that were answered before I even had the thought finish. Yeah, it was just like, no, obviously no one's talking. So it was telepathic. And it was just like, it was amazing because the learning was just like, you think about my senses were gone, here on earth. I lost all 5 senses and there it was like vivid, like every sense was heightened. And it was just like going from having none to like, wow, it was just amazing. I had a life review there and yeah, and I was given a couple specific things to come back with. And I also was not given a choice to come back. I got sent back. I would honestly say where I was, I would have stayed there. And I think most people probably would. And the ones that don't come
Mm.
back, that's probably what they chose because I'll tell you what, it's way better than here. Way better.
Wow. Yeah. So much to unpack. But
There was a
yeah,
lot. Yeah, there's a
yeah,
lot of I mean, that story takes
yeah.
45 minutes to tell.
Yeah, yeah. So for high achievers who are listening, who are used to logic-based strategy, how can they start integrating intuition back into the decision making?
Wow. I think a lot of us don't, I think we think of having intuition as being psychic. I call it the gift of knowing. And
Mm.
that is a gift. I did have that before where people would ask you. So if you're listening and people have said to you, well, how do you know that? You don't know. You just know. And there's a lot of people that have that gift. That is a sense that to me is a higher sense of intuition, but everybody has tuition, that gut feeling that
Mm.
you're like, I'm not sure why I shouldn't do that, but I'm feeling like I shouldn't do that. That devil on one side, angel on the other. I mean, we just like all have it. It's there. And I think it is something that we can learn to listen to more. That's part of that presence to me. It's
Mm.
like, how are you going to hear the intuition or feel the intuition or however it comes to you if you're not being present? Like
Mm.
sometimes I feel like I'm on a jog and then all of a sudden I'm getting an idea and I move on ideas. Like I'm fast paced. I'm like want to get, and so it's like, wait, is there more to that? Wait, back up, stop jogging for a minute and just walk. Is there more to that? Because otherwise I might just jog right past that idea and then it's never going to come back again.
Mm.
And it's like, for me, it's just write it down. I've learned to keep a pen and paper by my bed if I wake up because I'll have an idea and then it's like, oh, and then it's gone. A lot of people get ideas in the shower and get that intuition there. Water is so healing. I mean, water flows, right? So
Yeah,
energy and your ideas are going to flow like the water. And so
yeah.
some people actually keep a notepad by their shower. And if they get an idea, they hurry and write it down. And it's probably not as safe to do it on your phone. I'd probably grab my
Mm.
phone and do it. But
Movement's also another good way, is when you're moving and you're walking, and is another good way of doing that as well.
yeah, I think,
Mm.
yeah. And so I talk text into my phone all the time.
Mm.
If I get an idea, that's another way. Keep it in your notes. Just talk, text it, or do your audio and just record yourself saying whatever you're going to say. Give enough hints because I've noticed if I just say something and then I go back to it later and I'm like, what the heck did that mean? Like, so it's like, give some context to it maybe because I just like, and I know some of the long COVID, the fog, that stuff's still real. And so I know for me, it's like, oh, because I love ideas. But like I said, we get so many thoughts going through all the time. We just have to like hang on to it and figure out a way
Mm.
how you get back to them. That's part of the presence too.
Yeah, and your higher self is guiding you. It's telling you, it's giving you the intuition, and then we've got to take inspired action from that, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
We can't just let it sit there. Like, I mean, you've seen what I've built with my platform and
Oh
AI,
yeah, that's wonderful.
and I go for a walk, and I'll have my headphones on, and I'll go, "Hey, ChatGPT, I've got this idea." I'm ideating it there and then. So when I
Yeah.
get back home, I've got everything already. Find voice is also a really great way as well. And especially
Yeah.
if you want to reprogram or you want to reframe things, having your own voice recorded and played back to yourself is a really good way of because you're more likely to listen and take in what your voice is telling you than someone else's voice. So
Absolutely. And there's when a little trick I've learned for me, well, a couple things. I remember when I was taking a test and I had a book with like 1,000 question and answers. I literally went through the whole book and I recorded the question and then I would pause and then I'd read the answer. And then I uploaded it unlisted on YouTube and then I put it on a loop. And this is what I did back then. And I'd sit and play it all night long and listen to it. So it would read me the question, pause, read me the answer. So when I went to go take that test, all I recognized was the answer. It made it so much easier for me. And I
yeah,
think that sometimes if we have a speech, record yourself giving the speech and then just play it on a loop. And even if you're just doing that while you're cleaning house or going for a walk or whatever, it's just there. You're constantly listening. To me, I'm very visual and I'm very audible. And so like for me, I listen to stuff all
yeah,
night long on YouTube. I have a paid account, so I don't get any commercials and I listen to
yeah,
binaural beats or affirmations all night long,
yeah,
and,
yeah.
it helps. It can't hurt is what I
Yeah,
say.
it doesn't hurt. And I remember going back maybe 7, 8 years ago, I went through a period of like 3 redundancies in the course of 7 years and went through a whole lot of relationship breakups and all that sort of stuff. But used to be a very a chronic anxious person
Mm,
where used to get anxious about things and always go to the worst case scenario of things. What I started doing was going onto YouTube and playing a whole lot of reprogramming
mhm,
affirmations through the night. So it would play for 8 to 9 hours
yeah,
and I would go through my different cycles of my sleep,
yep,
and especially in my theta and the delta brain waves,
yeah,
and then it was reprogramming my mind. And over time, what I noticed was that things started to change for me. I wasn't feeling so anxious anymore. But then also, what I learned to do consciously was to surrender and let go of what it was, and not worry too much about the outcome, but just
yeah,
focus on the journey there. It's like, okay, I don't know what's going to happen 5 minutes from now.
yeah,
Why should I worry about it? Just stay present in the present moment. The book, The Power of Now, by Eckhart Tolle, that
yeah,
completely changed the way my life, And I remember taking a client that I was, a lady that I was coaching, who was like completely, she was petrified of going to court because she had a court thing with her ex-husband, and she had this really bad experience with the judge and the therapist and so on. And I said, okay, everything we're talking about now is all effectively negative thoughts. What do you actually want to happen? And
yeah,
I took her through a breathing exercise, and I was walking on the beach when she called me, and I said, okay. And I said, what is it that you want? And she goes, well, I want a new judge. I want a new therapist. I want this to happen. So I took her through breathing and regulating herself. And I said, what I want you to do is when you get to court, I want you to sit there on the bench and I want you to just breathe and just really breathe and regulate yourself.
yeah.
And then I said, once you finish the court session, I want you to call me back and tell me exactly what happened. She called me back and said, we got a new judge. We got a new therapist.
I
I'm like,
manifested that right out. I love it.
and I
Wow.
said, see how whatever your thoughts and your emotions
Mm,
connect to is going to bring about, you're going to manifest that into your life.
yeah,
And we're manifesting things every day, all the time, right? But
yeah,
it's like half the time we're in this negative charge. It's like if you get a battery has a negative charge and a positive charge. Now, a negative charge doesn't mean that half of the battery is bad. It just means that it's polarity. It's like you
yeah,
can't have a positive without negative.
right,
And in life, you're going to go through challenges, but they are there to set you up to bring positive outcomes into your life if you let it, right?
right.
So that's the way I see change, and I see things now. Whereas previously, I was like, "Why does this keep happening to me?" And I'm like, "This is why it's happening."
Yeah. I know, it's amazing how much you really can be in control of if you realize it, right? You might not be able to control your city or your state or your country for that matter, but you can control you. And you can control the way you react to things, you
Yeah,
can control what you believe, you know?
yeah,
It's
yeah.
just it's all mindset.
Yeah, and as you said before, when you go into a shower and you got the flow,
Yeah,
as Bruce Lee said, be like water, be like water and actually flow,
yeah,
be fluid. So, and I think when we let when we let go, our body also releases. We're not so tense.
Yeah.
And when you have that, release, then you're actually allowing things to come into your life
Yeah.
rather than pushing things away. Yeah. Now, how do we start to trust that inner, quiet inner voice that the world around us is, so when it's so loud around us, how do
Yeah.
we start trusting the inner voice? Because most people are focused on the external when we
Yeah.
know that every answer that we want, every desire that we want is already within us.
Gosh, for me, going back to like sleep, I feel like sleep is so important. And a lot of people, as they get older, have a lot of sleep interruptions. Like I never could have had a job, or just even when I had little kids, that interrupted sleep, having to get up to feed and all that, it just is draining for me. So I think it's like figuring out, like for you, what does that look like? I always tell people, if you go on a vacation, don't set an alarm. And from what I've been told, like day 4, like every day, wake up, go to sleep, whatever you want. And day 4, track how many hours you slept. And that's usually like your own ideal. So I think sleep's a big one. For me, I have my ears ring crazy. Just one of the long COVID symptoms I have. And it's annoying because usually when I lay down to go to bed, I hear it the loudest because I'm actually still, right? It's like I'm trying to shut everything down. And then light sensories also are an issue, anything light. So there are masks when you were talking about listening to things all night. There are masks. I have one that I wear for the light, but it has flat speakers. They're round and they sit against your ears. And so sometimes they'll bother me, but not really. So they're just against, and that's what I'll listen to everything all night long. So it's like those senses, those sensory things and so I'm listening to that. So for me, like, I feel like that's what's coming up as you're asking me that question, is just making sure like what your body is going to need for optimum production, for you and your diet. You think about, I mean, there's a time I was totally off sugar, for instance. Several times I've been totally off sugar, or I wouldn't eat any. And after about a week, you don't even crave it. Food starts tasting better. I mean, if you've ever done that, you know what I'm talking about. But I remember like really one day, like my mind and my body was just like, you need some sugar. And I don't even remember what it is I ate, but it was like the transformation of how I felt and how my body just was like there's balance in all things. And for me, it's just figuring out like, what is it? And mine's been all over the place because of the illness and the long COVID and things, and trying to figure out, I had all these diagnoses stacking up, and it's like going from being healthy to having, 7 things wrong, that are there now all the time. And it's like, ugh. So you just life changes. We get older, our hormones change. You got to figure out and you got to adjust. And I think I can't tell you what's going to work for you because it worked for me. I'm just saying what did work for me. But I think being present, figuring out like your body, what makes it work. It might not work now, and it did before. Okay. Just
Mm,
know that you've got it. That's part of the whole surrender thing. It's part of just saying, I am a little older now. My hormones probably are changing a little bit. Go get your blood work done. Go figure out like, what do you need to do? And
mm,
I mean, for me, it's not drugs. I don't want a bunch of drugs fixing me. I want to find out why I have the
mm.
problem. But
Yeah.
whatever that looks like for anyone, it's just, you've got to make those decisions for yourself. But know you got to give yourself the grace to understand that our bodies change as we get older. They change as we get sick. They change as we obviously have children, or we have a mental breakdown, or we have some depression for a while. And maybe we need some medication for a while to get back on track. Like, everyone's different.
Mm,
For instance, long COVID, there are 200 symptoms attached to long COVID. Take that variable. That's everything I can think of. And take 200 symptoms and the variables, which I'm not going to do. I don't know what they are, but I'm just saying no 2 people that have long COVID are even experiencing the same things. Similar,
mm.
maybe crossover things, but I mean, there's just, with 200 symptoms, they're all over the place, and
Yeah.
you got to figure out what works.
Yeah. Absolutely. Agree with you. Yeah. Now, you've mentioned that stepping away is actually a strategy and not a setback. How do you explain that to a leader who feels like the whole world will stop if they stop?
Yeah. I think a lot of entrepreneurs, leaders, whether they're in corporate or entrepreneurship, I think they feel like they'll be judged.
Mm,
They're looked at, I'm the leader, so I can't be vulnerable. I I'll tell you what, I have way more respect for somebody who doesn't look perfect, because it makes me go, wow. I mean, we all bleed red. I mean, I respect someone so much more when they tell a story of something that happened to them or that is happening to them. And it's like, they seem more touchable, reachable. I can relatable.
mm,
And I want to be relatable to people. I look at some of my friends and I always thought as I was going through lots of challenges over the years and raising kids and teenagers, and I always thought, gosh, they have like the perfect family and they did this and
mm,
they're not going through this and this and this. And you find out later something that happens or later something does happen and you're like, oh, they didn't escape it. They just got it at a different moment in their life. They got that lesson 10 years later than I did.
mm,
And it's like sometimes people like they want to mask everything and they want to live behind closed doors and hide so that so they aren't judged because we are a very judgmental world. And
mm.
I have one message I would like to share if you're okay with.
Yeah.
When I got the message in my hypnosis session that what my intention for that session was, I want to revisit my near death experience because I remembered the out of body stuff. I remembered the spiritual one. I remembered a ton about my near death experience. But with my book coming out, I was like, oh, there's some gaps in there. And I have been told that a lot of people take 10 years to unpack a near death experience. And at that point, we were only a couple years in. And I'm like, okay, all right. So I have this experience. I have this hypnosis session and I learned so much more. And I was told more will be revealed to you when the time is right. And I was
Mm,
so at peace with that, which is not my normal MO. I'm like,
mhm,
want to know everything right now. And
mhm,
I was like, yeah, I'll wait because it was so much information and so much processing to go through that I was like, okay. And every year I get dripped a little bit more information that kind of is like the rest
mm,
of the story. And so it's exciting, but a big message that I was given that if I would have been remember this part of my near death experience originally, that 2 years of hell, I don't think I would have had it. I wouldn't have learned all those lessons. I wouldn't have had to go through what I did. And it's a really simple message, but how
mm,
interesting that it was taken away from my remembering until
mm.
the right time. More will be
Yeah.
revealed to you when the time is right. And
Yeah.
it was me having I was watching my life review and I was only seeing good. Well, in the actual near death, you don't think of a negative thought where you are. Everything is so perfect that I didn't think, why am I done bad things? Where's the bad stuff? All I was seeing was good. Well, now I have 2 years to think about it. I'm having a hypnosis session. You bet I'm going to ask, right? Because now I'm like, I want to know. And so I was having this experience seeing the good. And I said, why am I only seeing good? And I did not see God in my experience, but I heard him plain
Mm,
as day. And he said, I am showing you the good because that's what matters. And I was like, wow. And then he said these words. He said, love them where they're at. And that love them where they're at message takes away the judgment towards people. I tell myself I still struggle. Trust me. I have a very judgmental personality and I have to say, love them where they're at. And it brings that energy down and that emotion down and that anger, if I'm feeling it, all those things that I went through for those 2 years. It was an experience that I needed to have because of all the lives I'm going to change later.
yeah.
And so, yes, I'm grateful. No, do I ever want to go through that again? No, I want to be a check writer later for all the other people that are going through stuff and say, how much do you need to fix that? What program do I need to help cover so we can fix this problem? Because I don't want people to have to go through what I went through. I
Yeah.
saw the ick. I don't want to be in the ick. And
No.
so I feel like it's just part of the process.
Yeah, I'm in the same boat. Like all the abandonment, rejection stuff that I've been through in my past. I want to be able to help people heal through that.
Yeah.
Have an organization where people can come heal because let's face it, the government system doesn't help really
No.
anyone. And
Retreat. That's where it's
yeah,
at. Retreats.
exactly, retreats, exactly. And I think because community is what
Oh,
helps,
completely. Yeah.
right?
I am so well, obviously I just started International Retreat Association. There is not
Yeah,
one in the whole world. We just started one for 2 to 3 million estimated retreat leaders.
yeah.
So now there's a home for them to belong to and professional standards and values. And oh, we're going to create so many amazing transformational experiences for people. I love
And
it.
who knows, there may be an ability to collaborate with you and start something here in New Zealand
I
as
hope
well.
so.
Yeah, absolutely. It's interesting what you said before about meet them where they're at, right?
Yeah.
And
Love them where they're at.
love them where they're at. Yeah. So often, like when we're judgmental, we often think that people need to be in the same space that we're in or the same
Yeah.
part of the journey that we're on.
But they're
But
not.
the reality is no one is, right? Every single human being is on their own different path of the journey. And sometimes um, It's like if you're going to a destination, some people may go certain trips to get to that journey on that journey, but some people may have a longer journey because they're going through other trips. And
Yeah.
sometimes, your GPS is taking you on a detour because there's an accident or there's a setback that's happened, right? So, but
Right.
the thing is, those setbacks are those
Yep.
speed bumps are the ones to slow you down so that you can reflect and be more present and then take action towards it. Because we're in this fast space, we're just like action, action, action. But we
Yeah.
often don't, we're actually not actually letting our body even absorb what we're doing. We're just doing,
Yeah.
doing, 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 doing,
I'll do the motion.
instead of being the person,
Yeah.
right? That's
Yeah.
doing those things. I think it's important. So, how do you suggest someone takes that first minute of stillness when their life feels like it's in chaos?
Well, I think that kind of depends on what personality, like style you are, because the stillness I think is really important. But like to tell me to sit still is pretty tough. Like even to say I meditate every morning, no, I don't. I fall asleep having a prayer. It's like I can fall asleep like that. So
I know
I
that.
think it really depends. If you can sit still, I would say have that prayer meditation moment. Usually in the morning, I'm a morning person way more than a night owl, so I guess it's your best functioning time. Goes back to all the other stuff we were talking about. When your body functions best is when you need to get things done. I joke to my husband all the time that I'm a 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. girl. I always say, sorry you miss it. That's my best time, 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. Anyway, side note. But yeah, I think meditation's a good one. Also writing. I think journaling really can get down and out emotions. I'm a talk texter. So writing for me, again, like meditation and writing, those aren't my things. I feel like those work for a lot of people who are a lot calmer, more introverted people. I see that being and think about if you're introvert or extrovert or in between, and do people light you up and energize you, or do they drain you? And that's how you kind of know I'm an introvert. Oh, I'm an extrovert. I feel like I was always a big extrovert until I got COVID. And now I feel like, and there's a word for it, and it starts with an A, and I can't think of what it's called, but there actually is a name when you're in between. So I feel like I need that space to be quiet a lot more than I used to, or I used to
Yeah.
be around people all the time. So just yeah, I mean, if those suggestions help, I just think just really knowing and learning to know yourself. Go do a personality persona quiz. Go do the disc profile or the color code and find out if you don't know once you understand who you are, it's a lot easier to understand other people and why they do the things they do.
Yeah, absolutely. I think, so I get what you mean by the extroverted. So I call myself an extroverted introvert because I am an extrovert, but at times when I'm at home, I just want to chill
Yes.
and being an entrepreneur, I work from home. And so I'm actually quite comfortable being introverted when I'm working from home. When I'm out and about with networking or meetings and so on, I'm a total extrovert at that point.
Yeah. Yeah, I think you can change, but yeah, I was trying to see if I could see that name. I just looked it up about a day or 2 ago because I was like, "Oh yeah, well, somebody told me they were that. That's what I am."
What usually happens when we ignore the need to pause?
Wow, our bodies know. I think, we have muscle memory, we have cellular memory. We talked about that in this show. We have those things I mean, think about, okay, if you have a tight neck, you know, there's things that are stuck there. There's emotions that are stuck there. And so I think your body kind of tells you first. If you're really paying attention, maybe it's a headache. Maybe it's some joint pain. Like everyone's going to be different, but I feel like when we're paying attention, there's some stressors. There are definitely signs. And when we're paying attention and we know how our minds or our bodies work, I think it's easier to recognize, so to speak.
Yeah. It's interesting because you say that because I've had this stiffness in my hip
Oh,
and um, a little bit of pain when I can feel it when I'm sleeping and when I get up in the morning and stuff. And it's been there for a couple of years, but I know that a lot of that was through the stress that I was going through,
yeah.
through the restructuring and the redundancies that I went through. Because I've been through something like 24 restructures and 4
uh,
redundancies, and I think there's been a lot of holding on to that in my body.
Yeah.
And even now, I'm not part of that corporate world, and there's still things that I'm not aware of that I've got to release and let go of.
Yeah. Yeah.
And quite often I'm like, well, and as you were saying, maybe the opportunity that I have is to actually sit with that feeling and and just focus on that area and go, you know what,
Yeah.
universe, God, show me what is it that I've got to release here. What am I holding?
Be honest with yourself. It's so much easier to let go of things when they're brought to your attention. Sometimes things come up you didn't even know were there. I mean, I've
Yeah,
seen, especially in the retreat world, I've seen so many breakthroughs, and it's
yeah,
amazing. And hypnosis, oh my gosh, I'm such a believer in hypnosis because I feel like
yeah.
you can take years of therapy away having a
Oh,
hypnosis session.
100%.
People are so
I
scared of it, but
Yeah, recently had a guest, Craig Merriweather, who's a hypnotist, and we had an amazing episode, I think a couple of episodes ago,
yeah,
and yeah, we had a great chat about hypnosis.
yeah. No, I wanted hypnosis is on people that have had near-death experiences. Those
Wow,
those
that
fascinate.
that would be absolutely fascinating. Yeah, let's break the shift framework down a bit more. Could you walk us through the 5 elements that work together in a practical way?
Yeah. So surrender, hope, intuition, faith, and transformation, which we've talked about a lot of these in the show. I always say it's interesting that the bookends, the S and the T, which is surrender and transformation, are my bookend letters because I don't feel like you can have one without the other. I mean,
Mm,
true transformation has to come at some point from surrendering. You have to let go of something to be able to have and feel and be transformed. And so everything in between is just the good stuff that makes you get there. And so
it's a journey.
yeah, it is a journey. Yeah. That's a
Mm,
good way to put it. I love it. And we all go through shifts. And it's funny how that word is so powerful. I'm seeing people use like that was an inspired book name. I had a different book name for 2 years, and then when I got close to getting ready to get my book done, I switched the title to Near Death Shift: What Life Taught Me About Life, Business and Purpose, because that's exactly was the journey for me. I didn't feel like I had purpose. I mean, sure, I had a family and they were my why, and why I wanted to do things, was for leaving them the legacy, whatever, blah, blah, blah. But I never really like that ultimate purpose to feel like I had that to live. I didn't have that until I almost died. And I don't want people to feel like they have to almost die to truly live. Like, live every day as if it's your last. I mean, we hear that, but it's so true. It's because it could be. And we all know people that were shocked because one day you're talking to them and the next day they're gone. And life is short. In the big perspective of things, life is so short. And so I think it's just, yeah, figuring out what you want that to be, and then every day work towards better's better.
yeah, absolutely. And which one of those letters is usually the hardest for people to get their head around?
I want to say in this day and age, my guess, two of them. Can I have two?
Yeah, hope
I'm
and
going to
faith.
say surrendering first. A lot of
Oh yeah.
people just can't ever surrender.
Mm,
And then I think what a lot of people, my own gut feeling saying is faith.
mm,
I think a lot of people are just losing faith. They're losing faith in their country, in their homes, in their work environments. They're feeling, which is also the hope. They're losing that because they want to believe in something better that they're not seeing getting better, so to speak. And this kind of a blanket statement. I'm not saying anything in particular, but like if you're listening, think about maybe what that is for you. And that's me just thinking. I think the faith is just going away, and it's
yeah,
sad because I
yeah,
think when we need something to believe into and we need something to hope for, and when we start feeling that defeat and like it's all gone, it's
yeah,
hard to have transformation at the end.
yeah. The thing is, in this industrial age, and the whole government structure, we've been taught that we have to have faith and trust the system, right? And we know that the system doesn't work.
No.
So what is the opportunity? The opportunity is to stop listening to the outside and start listening to the inside. And
Yeah.
because if God created us in the image of himself and he gave us the ability to create, we are creators, then why do we need to look externally? We already
Mm.
have everything that we want within us. The
Yeah.
question is, are you willing to believe in yourself and back yourself, right? And
Hmm.
as an entrepreneur, that's fundamental to being an entrepreneur, is that you've
Right.
got to believe when everyone else is saying that that you're crazy, that whatever you're wanting to do is you're crazy. You're never going to be able to do that. You've got the belief, and you know your limitations. You know what limitations you need to break to get to. If you believe in yourself and back yourself, that you can achieve anything. I've been doing this. I've been practicing this since I was about 18 years old. When I remember through an argument with my stepmother, and long story short, my father came home and said, "You're useless, you'll never be amount to anything,"
Mm.
and so on. I decided at that point that I was going to believe in myself and I was going to prove it to myself and prove it to him. And a few years later, I did. And he came and he bawled his eyes out at a concert where I was singing.
Oh, oh,
And then when I went to Las Vegas in 2008 and represented New Zealand in a singing contest, he
wow.
raised $2,500 for me to go to that
Oh,
event. And he said to me before he passed away, he said, "Son, always believe and back yourself." And he says, "Do whatever makes you happy." And he says, "Just follow your heart." And
yeah.
this is going from 18 to 50 something. Actually was 43 because I was 43 when I had my daughter. So at the age of 43, that I had closure and I had like that whole, my father said, I don't need to worry about you anymore. Yeah. I think that's my version of it anyway.
Yeah. Yeah.
How has a simple daily check-in changed the way you run your business?
I think a daily check-in would be a morning routine. I think it's starting out mine's adjusted, as my health has changed and it goes up and down. It's like that. One thing I did, I thought it was crazy. I got the idea from somebody else. The best ideas are stolen. And then we just adapt them to what works for us. And she wouldn't take any appointments until 10 a.m. And I just thought, whoa, 10 a.m. I was used to starting at 8 a.m. just to get more in the day and grind, grind, grind. And now I don't do that. My calendar always says me time, even though I might choose to work, but I'm not taking any appointments or anything. So 8 to 10 a.m. is me time. And whether I want to exercise during that time, when my lungs were really trashed, I was doing the hyperbaric for 90 minutes every day. I had one. It was a miracle story how I got one in my house. And it was like, okay, do I exercise or do I go save my lungs and lay in a hyperbaric for 90 minutes, which I did learn to do a little exercising in there, like stretches and stuff. But just saying that for me, it's that starting out the day. I'm a morning person, so it's easier to say that. I feel like when you start your day out right. The other thing is when I get up and my feet hit the floor, like, be grateful. Like, you woke up today. There's a reason. So what can you do to make your day great? And I feel like, having those things that are non-negotiables, for a long time, I wouldn't let anyone ever schedule in that 8 to 10. Once in a while now, I'm a little more flexible because sometimes in the afternoon, I need to take a break. Like, I can't schedule that because, maybe something's going on with my health or I had to go to a doctor appointment or whatever. Don't be so rigid in your thinking that you can't set yourself up for success every day. Whatever that looks like for you, whatever routine you have, don't not have it so non-negotiable that you're sabotaging yourself. It's like eating the chocolate cake. Once in a while, you just need to eat a dang piece of
Mm,
cake. Okay?
mm,
Reward yourself. It's okay.
yeah, 100%. Since your near death experience, your definition of prosperity has obviously changed. What does a soul aligned business look like for you today?
Wow. Soul aligned to me is also, I would say, the same word. I would say if you asked me, what's success? What's your definition of success? I would say soul aligned. I feel like that is parallel to that. And it's one word for me and it's easy. Not always easy to do, but it's easy. It's happy. One word, happy. To me, success, soul aligned is happy. And when you're experiencing joy and happiness, you're unstoppable. You can do anything when you're.
Yeah, 100%. When you've got the joy and happiness, the energy, the vibrations that you're putting out, it will bring everything that you're after. And so we've got to stay in that excitement and that energy of happiness and joy.
Yeah.
And a recent guest I had, he wrote a book. He's written a book called Joy Before Success. Choose joy first, and success will come after.
Yeah.
It's choice. We have a choice. What does it feel like to lead from a place of presence now compared to the old way?
Gosh. Okay. So one thing that I never felt like I felt ever until last year was one word too, peace. So
Mm,
that would be I really honestly didn't know what true peace felt like. And now I feel like I could feel it every day because I know what it feels like. You know what angry feels like or unhappy or stressful. You know what that feels like because we all have those emotions. But like for me to just sit and feel, wow, I feel peace. That was like the best thing ever. And now to know, like, I know what that feels like. So more of that, please.
Absolutely. Yeah. How do you make sure that your legacy is about more than just 12 companies that you've built?
Oh, yes. Well, I'm going to make sure because for me, and this is just for me, I feel like God gave me a life Bible, said, here you go, in your near death experience, and the ending's written, and you have to go fill in all the pages. But here's the ending. This is what it'll be. Which is what my legacy is. And it's like, wow, who gets that? Like, I feel like who gets that? I don't know anybody else that got that given to them. And not saying it'll be easy. I'm willing to do the work, but in the end, like I have a way bigger calling than I ever thought I did. That's a lot of weight on my shoulders, I feel, but I feel like because it's a calling, the weight's been lifted and the
Mhm.
path's been opened. But I also want to say to your listeners, I think, and I've been known to say this a lot lately because I really feel it to my core. A lot of people, and I'm going to speak to women when I say this mostly. Women think they don't have a purpose. They think sometimes, I'm raising kids and I feel like my why's so small. Like mine, I know is big. I know it's an international thing. I know it's changing lives all over the world. Okay. And what if you are a stay-at-home mom? What if you're raising the next president of the United States? How big is your calling now?
Yeah.
And you don't realize it.
Yeah. 100%.
So look at it every day, no matter what you're doing. You're important. What you're doing is important. If you can be better, be better.
Yeah. And on that journey to, like you said, you've been given this responsibility and this vision of what you're building. You don't have to do that alone. Like this movement of the Champion Mindset Collective, it's not just me. I'm just the front face of it.
Yep.
But all of you guests
Yeah.
are the ones that are helping me move this forward.
Absolutely.
So like when Martin Luther King had a dream, absolutely. But it was the people that were with him that moved that forward. When Gandhi had the calling and he led, and this is what this podcast is actually, or this movement is based on, is be the change in the world that you want to see. And
Absolutely.
what does that mean? It means be the change in yourself first
Yeah. Yeah.
before you see that in others. And the way I see it is that the collective, I can change my world by changing myself. You can
Yeah.
change your world by changing yourselves. And all of the guests that have been on the podcast, as a collective, we can change the world together.
100%.
And so
And
it's a
love them
collective
where they're
conscious.
at
Yeah,
begins with loving yourself where you're at.
yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely, absolutely, 100%. You've got the book sitting behind you. I can see it, The Shift.
I do.
This right there. People will be going, how do I contact Holly? How do I learn more about her? How do I get the book? Tell us how you can be connected with. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I made it so simple. I have one link. It's a link tree. If you just go there, you can get the book. You can find out about the Retreat Association. All my socials are on there. The podcast that I run called All Things Retreat. Everything you need is all on one link. So I'll share it with you. If you could share it in the show notes, that'd be great.
Yeah, it will go into the show notes, and it will also be a dedicated page to this episode on the Champion Mindset Collective.
Yeah.
On there will be your bio, your links about the episode. There'll be an article written from the transcript from this podcast. There'll be a practical guide that people can download. It's a 3-page guide. What it does is the episode goes deeper into the article, and then the article gets distilled down into a 3-page guide with reflection points and practical steps that people can start to take. And it's all based on the information that you've provided. All that will be there. Even the videos, you don't even have to go to YouTube to watch it. You can watch it all on that one page. Everything's on one page. And for you there'll be a section in terms of how are your videos actually performing, and you can then also share from there as well. So yeah,
Okay.
it's all in one place.
Great.
Okay,
Thank you.
so quick fire questions. You can answer these in a short sentence or a single word,
Okay.
and they're rapid fire. So the first question is, how do you define success, and has that definition evolved for you over time?
Again, it's happy. I define it by happy, and by being not happy made me want to be happy.
Who's your greatest inspiration and why?
Greatest inspiration. I love Reba McEntire, and I get told all the time that I look like
You
her.
look like her. Yeah.
Makes me happy because I love her. I think she's a good person inside and out.
Yeah, she's
Has
awesome.
a great
Yeah,
voice.
yeah. What is something that you believe that others may disagree with?
Gosh, that there is good in everything.
If you could go back and give young Holly some advice, what would it be?
To realize that the little things didn't matter like you thought they did. The little changes that you thought would make a difference, it's the big changes that really are making a difference.
And all the little things compound into the big things, right?
They do. Yeah, they
Yeah,
do. I know most people would say the opposite of that, but no, I feel like, yeah, the little things get into the big things, but it's the big things that really move the needle.
matter. Yeah, so the consistent small steps
Mm,
then help. Yeah. What
yeah.
is one message that you like to share with the world?
To love them where they're at, to remember that and serve people because the ones you probably need to serve are the least ones that you want to.
Yeah, 100%. And last question for you is, what does it mean to you to be a champion and have a champion mindset?
I think to me that means success for me because I'm doing good in the world.
Mm,
And I always want to, everything I've ever done is around service. So I'm building community and that's just what I want to do.
amazing. Thank you.
Thank
Holly,
you.
thank you so much for being here and sharing such a personal part of your story with us. What really stood out to me today is that the idea of surrender isn't about losing, it's about getting the clarity that you need to move forward in the right direction. And it's direction over distance. If you're going in the right direction, you're going to get there. And
Yeah.
so you don't have to worry about the distance it's going to take. I think for anyone listening who feels that they are forced pause right now. It's a huge perspective shift. If you're navigating redundancy, career change, rejection, major life transition, I'm building a program called the Champion Reset, which is going to help you, it's designed to help you rebuild your confidence, clarity, and direction. So if you're interested in that, come and have a chat with me. My details are in the show notes. Make sure that you subscribe and that you check out the show notes and of Holly's work and also the Champion Mindset Collective episode page. Thanks for being a part of the Champion Mindset Collective, and we'll see you in the next episode. Lastly, I just want to say you are loved, you are worthy, champion your life, champion your greatness, and have an amazing day.